According to the Wall Street Journal, more states are requiring that couples agree to 50-50 shared custody in order to get divorced. That's bringing down divorce rates, but also hiding other issues. Here's Jennifer Hargrave, family law attorney in Dallas and owner of Hargrave Family Law. Jennifer, the good and bad of shared custody.
You know, in general, what I've seen, at least in Texas, is that historically we've had this idea of one parent having more time with the children. That's sort of the primary residence, and then the other parent gets alternating weekends, or in our case, it's first, third, and fifth weekends. And I would say over the past 20 years, there's been sort of an evolution where it makes sense for a lot of families with, you know, two working parents to have a more equal share of time. And I think one of the things that's important for people to understand is there's also financial incentive, the way child support is structured. So a lot of times if there's a 50-50 sharing of parenting time, that may mean that the higher income earner is paying less in child support than that parent would if it were just on weekends. So there's definitely an incentive to do a 50-50 and of sharing of time. And I think that sounds really good in theory. But in practice, it works out a little differently depending on the family. I mean, it can be a great solution for a lot of families, but if there's any instance of abuse or substance abuse or just a parent who hasn't really exercised parenting responsibility, they're not really skilled, they're not really interested, it can really create a big problem.
Yeah, all right, because now you've got situations, I guess, where maybe couples are staying together for the wrong reasons, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's been the case for a long time. And I think that it is certainly important to be thinking about your children's welfare when you're considering divorce. But the divorce itself isn't what will cause the drama or the trauma for the children. It's really the conflict between the parents. And right now, this seems to be one more thing to argue about is whether they're going to have an equal parenting time or, you know, they're going to do something more traditional. And in states where this now is the default, the idea of 50-50, that means you have to be ready to prove that the other parent's unfit to have equal time, right? It's that default sets up the presumption that it's best, and now you have to prove why it's not best, where in other states, kind of the more traditional way of doing it, the older way of doing it, with one primary parent, that's the default. So you would have to show why you should be entitled to 50-50.
We're speaking with Jennifer Hargrave, family law attorney, also owner of Hargrave Family Law in Dallas. And we're talking about how divorce has tumbled in states that have equal custody laws, but that's not always a good thing, especially if a spouse is abusive, for example. This Wall Street Journal story talked about shared custody arrangements, which have been overturned even after like one spouse has been victim of a beating by the other. Is this kind of what you've heard in your practice or experienced?
You know, anybody who's been in an abusive relationship knows, and we certainly see it as practitioners. I mean, abuse is claimed in a lot of cases, right? A lot of times somebody will claim to have been abused. And sometimes when there's real abuse going on, it's devastating, right? It's very palpable, and you can see it. The question is often what constitutes abuse. Are we only looking at physical violence, or if we look at more manipulative, emotional abuse, does that count too? A lot of times that hasn't counted in court. The judge doesn't really want to hear about all of that, right? They're only going to be paying attention to bruises and so forth. So that definitely it introduces an interesting dynamic when we're talking about equal parenting time as the presumption. Yeah. And would incentivize a lot of people to make abuse allegations, maybe to get more time with their children when there really isn't abuse.
Is there a best case scenario? Like, do the courts miss something when they make these types of custody laws and divorce laws and such?
I mean, in my experience, you have to look at so many factors. I think 50-50 is really difficult for parents who maybe there's not abuse, but there's just a lot of conflict. They argue over everything.
Thanks, Jennifer. Jennifer Hargrave, family law attorney in Dallas and owner of Hargrave Family Law.